Hi, Dr. Christine.
Hi, Melinda. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Oh my
We did
gosh.
it. Another week
It's
done.
um it's rainy and overcast here in LA, and it's making me feel like life doesn't exist.
Mhm. Are you
You
saying that
know?
because it's like cozy indoors vibe, like not knowing what the rest of
Yeah.
the world is doing because you're inside?
It's
Yeah,
just
me too.
like I just pretend nothing else exists when it rains. It barely rains here in Los Angeles. So when it does, it's like,
It
oh,
does.
everything is canceled.
I hear that. Same. I'm in the Bay Area and it's yesterday we got a really nice storm and I loved it. I was like, I don't wanna go anywhere. I did go on a date last night though with my husband. That was nice. We're trying to be
Cute.
better at least once a month date nights. It'd be great if it was more than that, but that's kind of what we can do right now. So it was fun. We went to a nice dinner and we were too late for our salsa lesson, which was a bummer. We were in such a good conversation. We're like, oh, we're late for our class, but we went anyway just to like kind of watch and it was nice. And it was rainy. So I was like, do we want to go outside? But we had a sitter. I'm like, let's go. Let's get out of here. Have some time to ourselves. So it was nice.
I'm obsessed. That is such couple goals. I'm sorry, you're going to a salsa dancing lessons after your
We didn't even
dinner,
do it, but we were there,
and
so
you were
we can
so caught up in the conversation with each other that you missed your
it's
dance.
okay.
Like, I mean, that's even next
Oh,
level.
that's really you're right, actually. I'm like, usually we're like, "Okay, what did we talk about now?" We talked about the kids, we talked about bills, and we had a good conversation last night. So you're right. Thank you for that reframe. Yeah,
Amazing. Good for you. There's so much that about a relationship, it requires such intention, I feel. And it's really easy to like forget that intention and like, book a salsa class for yourselves or do something a little bit like fun and out of the norm. It's so easy to forget that with your partner because it's just like all of life.
yes,
So
our
I
kids are
commend
fine.
you guys.
Thank you. Our kids are just a bit older now where, folks, I imagine, can go we can go on dates at any time. And I'm also feeling the sense of like, okay, we are in like a rediscovery mode of like, what is life outside of baby toddler phase until like the kids are grown, they can have babysitters. They can, I know they could have babysitters before, but there's still that mama angst that I've at least had where I'm just like, are they okay? Now I'm
Yeah.
feel that releasing and just get to be more present with my partner. And that's felt really good. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. So yeah, the rain didn't stop us. How was your week overall?
Um, what else has been going on this week? I filmed the podcast with some guests. So this week I filmed with Amy Liu, the founder of Tower 28.
My goodness.
She's amazing. I've always admired her, and she's such like a founder's founder, Like she's really involved in helping others, and she was a great guest to have on. And then I also had Cindy Ramirez, who's the founder of Chill House Press On Nails.
Oh,
Um,
I've
I've
used those before. I love those. That's
loved
awesome.
Chill House. I know. It's like to me, it's like I told her, I'm like, you're like the most recognizable press on nail brand, at least like modern day one. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
She was
no it's
super
no
sweet.
Sally Hansen vibes, or I don't even know, you know what I mean? Like, that was back in the day. This is like a new era
Yes.
for Peloton.
Yeah.
I love that.
She was
Good.
great. And then I also had a content creator named Eddie who is studying to get their marriage and family therapy license. So very much so like both of our worlds. And yeah, it was a good couple of shoot days.
Good for
Um,
you.
thank you.
You've been busy, just continuing to add on more guests, amazing guests from obviously your core, but also just like they're unique all in their own right. And it's just so beautiful. I'm really excited for you. Really, really excited.
Thank you.
What?
Yeah, it's really nice just to I often have to pinch myself and I'm just like, this is the dream. I just get to talk to people that I admire, including
Yeah.
yourself.
Oh,
So thank you
so
for
listen,
being here.
I look forward to these days. Yes.
So we had some interest in a specific topic that I pulled out. And when I kind of proposed it to you, Dr. Coleman, you were like, yes, absolutely. So I think we should lean into that today, which is essentially digital boundaries and the relationship between social media and mental health, which is so loaded, but I know that you've explored this before. Are there any initial thoughts you have just like off the bat that come to mind?
Yeah. I'm really thankful that this topic came to our attention because we're just in it, right? We're in it. And I talk to so many people for a living. It affects social media and our ties to digital consumption, connecting through this digital device, usually our phones. I'm holding it as if this is my phone, right? But laptop. And there's so many ways to connect this day and age. And I really research is telling us, and I also really don't think that we're going to go backwards at all. So it really is about discussing and leaning into this is the new normal. It's probably not going to change. How do we take care of ourselves and really lean into some of those boundaries you mentioned, knowing that the evolution is only going to continue on from here?
Yeah. I mean, with AI and all of these advancements, it just seems like more and more. And sadly, there doesn't feel like there's a lot of responsibility on others to create guidelines or warnings or just any sort of parameters around how to use this technology and how to create a balance, how it impacts our well-being and our mental health. Sadly, there's not a lot that is like at the forefront of these platforms and of these different devices, but there's a lot of information out there that we can find ourselves. Um, I know for me, one of like the first things that I felt was really important to implement was just as simple as a social media detox.
Yeah, you've been so good with
And
those. They
that's
inspire me,
I
seriously. Yeah.
I try. I find especially like for example, 1 week a month there is not an episode of the Beauty Manifest because every other week is a guest episode and then once a week Dr. Coleman and I have our episode. So that 1 week a month that I don't have a guest episode or a Dr. Coleman episode, I do try and disconnect from social media. And so, yeah, that's kind of been like an ongoing framework for me, regardless of like where I am in my career, is like, where can I escape a little bit and be really intentional about taking some time off? And I'm actually overdue for it. I was thinking about it this morning, getting ready to film with you. And I'm like, I'm overdue for a detox. So I might be doing that actually as soon as we hang up here. So maybe I'll take a break.
Holiday, yeah, that's amazing. Do you find that you schedule them for yourself? How do you determine that there's an off week with the recording? How do you determine your detox timeline?
Yeah, it's usually like what makes sense with my schedule. I am pretty hands-on with the podcast, but I do have some help in posting. So if I don't have like a guest or a Dr. C episode going live, like I'll try and create that as part of my like monthly routine. Like, okay, this 1 week a month, I'm not going to have an episode. I'm going to intentionally disconnect from social media. Um, if I miss that or that doesn't happen for some reason, then I can take it down a notch, but still make an effort in the sense of, okay, maybe I have things going live this week and next week, but I don't over the weekend, or I don't over the next 2 days, or maybe I don't even for one day. And just deleting the app from my phone or moving it to a different place, whatever you need to do. For me, I need to like actually delete it from my phone and then re-upload it. It's not that hard. It saves all your info. Um, but I will down to even the granular of one day when I really need it. Or if I'm going on vacation, one thing I love to do is like, okay, I'm going to take photos and videos, but I'm not going to actively post while I'm on vacation. So I can be really present and and then on my way home on the plane or something, I can share with everyone what I've been up to. So that I have all these like little things that I try and constantly keep in the back of my head. But I think one of the most important things is trying to find a way to build it into your routine so it doesn't get forgotten. And that's for me is like, okay, oh, there's not an episode going live this week. Now it's time to detox. So that's kind of
Great.
my indicator.
Good for you. Talking
Yeah.
about the ways that you do things is not only inspirational, but it gives us the practical tools. And I think that's one of the best ways we can learn from each other on any topic, especially when it comes to well being. How do you manage your load? How do you take care of yourself? How do you do a digital detox? And it's your experience. People don't have to copy and paste, but if we can or take little pieces from it, that's exactly how we learn. So there's so much power in learning from each other, especially in the context of digital consumption because as we said, it's everywhere. It consumes us. It ties. We are tied to so many things through these devices. It's not only for entertainment and social media. It's very much our to-do lists, our email, our budget, like all the things have really been consolidated to these digital spaces. So it is really hard to even separate ourselves from the device itself. And so even if we
Yep.
can't do all that, maybe we can think about these categories as these different as pillars that you can say, well, I still need to be tied to my phone, but maybe I can minimize my time on my phone by deleting my social media. So that's one category that I've minimized for the month. So yeah, thank you for inspiring us.
My gosh, yeah, of course. I mean, it feels close to impossible to like not have your phone at all. I
Yeah.
think about that sometimes. Or like even just like go in my backyard without my phone, and then I'm like, well, but if
Where
I
is
want to
it?
do this or this,
I,
like I have the trackers on my cat. If one of the cats goes over the fence, then like the trackers tied to my phone. If I want to turn on the jacuzzi, if I want to like it just everything is tied to our device or safety. Like, let me go on a walk without my phone. I don't really want to go on a walk by myself without my phone because, like, there's a safety aspect to that. And so, can I like wear a fanny pack and zip it up so I'm not like holding it or looking at it?
yeah,
But
I know that's actually really great idea in whatever the form is of if we can't detach ourselves from it all the time, how do we have it? And one thing what I'm really hearing is how do we create barriers to access it as readily as we typically do? So you bring up a good point in bringing the concept of mental health into this conversation. What we're really talking about is anxiety, right? The what ifs. Those are the areas that we notice if I'm not available, if I'm not present, what if something happens that I'm not attuned to because I gave myself this detox or this separation from the space? There's a risk there, and that risk
yeah.
can easily ramp up our anxiety. So we minimize the risk, we minimize the anxiety by having it close. For the most part, I think we know in our logical minds that we will be okay. We also know that there was a time before phones where we weren't attached and people had to take a lot of risks in not knowing a lot of things. So maybe our anxiety was greater, but also maybe it wasn't because there wasn't this feature of life that allowed us or this device or whatever we want to call it, this portion of life that made things better in a lot of ways, but also I think has had the potential to really increase our anxiety. So I don't know if you have thoughts about this concept of anxiety whenever we try to create these boundaries and increase potentially the risk for not being connected, which can increase the risk for us not feeling great in ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, as you were sharing that, I'm like, it feels very closely tied to like this productivity culture. Like in order for what I'm doing to actually be worth it or exciting, I have to share it. In order for me to be readily available to my friends and family so that they love me and I can be there for them, then I have to be available. It's like it kind of goes back to one of our prior conversations where I was talking about being a human being versus a human doing. It's tying back to that and like where we find the value in ourselves and whether or not we're comfortable just being. I think a lot of the anxiety comes from that. And then obviously like the safety concerns, the comfort of knowing like, "Oh, if I take a wrong turn, I can look up where I'm gonna go." Like, there's that anxiety as well. There's the performance anxiety, and then there's the safety anxiety. Those are, like, 2 aspects of it that stick out to me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's You said the performance anxiety, and what was the second one? I just lost it.
And then safety.
Safety anxiety. Yeah, those are really great differentiations. And I think a lot about what we've talked about, especially as it relates to this work that you do, the intersection of beauty and mental health. So much of the world of social media. So, yes, we have this device and the ways it connects us. So much of it is tied to, I love the way that you even framed it as the relational aspect of availability, connection, belonging. If I'm not responding to people, if I'm not available to people, are they not going to like me? Am I going to be rejected?
Yeah.
Are they going to think other things about me that are not necessarily true? And then I think on the side of things where we really are susceptible to even more of those types of reactions on social media, for instance, we're seeing, I just read some research in preparation for this that two-thirds of the world are connected to social media as of present day, and even more so in young people as it relates to how frequent they're actually utilizing. I mean, the average for adults, I think it was, I have to check the age. Adult age were about 2 hours on average a day, 2 to 2.5 hours on average a day, where it was, like, significantly higher for your teenagers. So, I'm just putting that into context for us because there's an element of the tie of the device itself, and then we add on different ways that are inherently positive because they're giving us an opportunity to connect with a lot of other people. I think you and I could probably name so many reasons why social media can be a benefit. At the same time, we know that when it comes to things like comparison, we've talked in the past on past episodes around body perception and things like body dysmorphia, eating disorders, the high levels of comparison, especially among women and girls, or how we should look. So there are risks there of what we're seeing with the digital consumption as a device itself, as it relates to us and our human interactions, as well as our own self esteem. And so we're talking about anxiety, but think about all the different pathways to anxiety and even depression that our connection to this real world device and what is on it, like social, what it can do to our mental and emotional well being.
Yeah. What are, like, the main things that show up for you in your experience, in your practice? What are the main things that show up, like, the main side effects that show up from overuse of devices and technology? I know anxiety, like we're talking about, is definitely a front runner. Are there
Yeah.
any, like, side effects or certain, conditions that we can look out for when we should know, like, "Oh, maybe now it's time to take a break?"
Yeah, a lot of what I'm seeing across the board and I see folks from all ages, mainly adults and up. So I would say 18 and over, but like young adults to much older adults, and how addictive the devices are, the addictive components. And what is that doing? A lot of sleep interruption, a lot of distraction from being present. So a lot of the folks I talk to are saying, I notice that it's actually harming or has the potential to harm my relationships because I'm always here. And even if, again, it could be social for, again, um, opportunities for us to kind of take a time out. I think that's something that we are really busy and flooded human beings, some of us more than others, depending on our lifestyles and the stages of life with lots of tasks and things to do. Some of that could be tied to how much we're consuming on our phones. But we're busy human beings. I know you and I are busy women. There's a lot of things that we have to adhere to, but a lot of that gets tied to our phones. So when our friends or our family, my children, my clients, telling me that their families are asking for a bit more of them, that's something that I think we have to pay attention to, of just how much we are tied down. Even just thinking about physically what we're doing, right? The sense of looking down and being so narrow in our focus there can be so many things going around. I don't know if you have had these experiences before, but look up and I hear the sounds, but I'm just like, where did I just go? Like, where did I just, I've been so
Yeah.
focused here. I have children, right? They're mommy, mommy, but I'm like, hold on. And then I go out into this world. So I have to call myself out and catch myself in those moments too, because on the riskier side of things, yes, we are losing connection in the present, our loved ones, our relationships to the outside world. Sometimes we do need a bit of a tapping out. So I'm not saying that we have to rid these moments to just kind of go, oh, what is everybody else doing? Let me look at this reel that makes me feel happy. I like, home decor. I'm like, let me see what the latest trends are, right? These different things. We're not going to say that those things are bad for us. Sometimes, again, we're also consuming news and we've gotten access to news that maybe before we wouldn't have had so much insight in. So there are potentials for positivity, but I think the addictive nature of social and phone usage or device usage is high. And another one that I'm also noticing is a lot of sleep interruption. So folks are having a really hard time coming down from the day, and probably not a surprise to many of us, scrolling ourselves to sleep. And oftentimes, if we're not scrolling ourselves to sleep, not sleeping enough because we just can't get off of this thing. It's so consuming. It has such addictive components to it. So those are the things that are coming to mind about how it's showing up in folks that I work with and just people I interact with in general. Do you have any insights on that?
Yeah, so I'm like absolutely anxiety, absolutely depression, sleep deprivation, lack of presence. Another big one that stands out to me is comparison and self-confidence. It kind of innately comes with overuse of devices because of social media, first and foremost. I think probably that more than anything is the biggest impact is social media. It's such a curated, unrealistic snapshot of reality. It's not reality. And more
Mm,
often than not, far more often than not, people are posting the best snippets of their lives, the best moments, the best angles, the best lighting, all of the best, best, best. And of course, we love that. We love the aesthetic, especially in the beauty space, as we know. But where can we find ways to remind ourselves that this is an unrealistic curated landscape? Where can we remind ourselves it's not a comparison? Where can we even challenge ourselves if we are creators or we are using our platforms in a bigger way to maybe challenge ourselves to share a little bit more vulnerability or a little more realness and naming that um, to kind of help out one another? But I don't know, from your perspective, Dr. C, how have you or how can you help your clients that might come to you and they have this unrealistic beauty standard in mind because of what they're seeing on social media?
you bring up such good points. And I always love learning about you because you're in the beauty space and also obviously because you're a mental health advocate and are very conscious of the connections that can again have positive outcomes, but also the pretty high risk for mental health concerns there. And between research and what we're learning, as we know, social media is still fairly new. We're going to learn so much more, but we're already learning a lot. And also firsthand insight from someone like you, I think is so valuable and powerful. On my end, I do see this a lot. I think so much of this is gonna come in the waves, right? So I'm thinking about myself as a very proud millennial who was maybe with the last generation standing of knowing what life was like before social and before
Yes.
such a deep usage of phones. I think my first cell phone, I was like 16 and it was a flip phone, right? And then obviously the evolution of smartphones thereafter. So thinking about what life was like before, where things were different and lighter to where we're at now, I generally would say it has its positive aspects. At the same time, I know that as myself as a woman and the women and girls I work with, there are such high risks for what you're saying of comparison and also, of course, the more detrimental disordered thinking and disordered outcomes that im- actually impact us behaviorally and even physically with the harm that can happen with eating disorders and other types of things that can be physically harmful. And so we work a lot on we talked about boundaries, time boundaries on our social media. What I really love about especially young people, I think that there's a lot of really great boundaries that that they have for themselves that they're actually teaching us as maybe older generations around just like how much they post or what they post. I think a lot of them are also engaging in some more of their own detoxes or choosing young and older adults too, just choosing certain platforms to be on more than others. So because there are so many, and we think my default is Instagram, but now we have TikTok, which is its whole other lane of consumption that has the short form, that has this instant gratification. So I think a lot of this is coming down to having an understanding with ourselves of what are the boundaries that we have in the present. So, do I need to put a timer on myself? Even knowing that, as again, with the evolution of social media, we already see a lot more parent warning labels, a lot more just warning labels in general around the risks of what can happen if we maybe tend to go down this rabbit hole of social media. Again, I'm sure these companies they want us to stay on. That's why they create all these different ways for us to interact with it for longer amounts of time. At the same time, I know that because there are voices like ours who are like advocating for safe usage for our mental and emotional well-being as well as our physical well-being, I think to a degree some companies are listening. So really again, personally, some time boundaries on Instagram, I put a time limit on myself. You can go into the app itself and say, "I'm not gonna use it more." Mine's an hour, and it's actually surprising because I think sometimes I thought I was on it longer than an hour, but I think because of that short hit, that addictive way of just like, I
Mhm,
just need minutes and then I'm done, I go on to the next thing, and then I go on again. To me, it feels like I'm on it all day long, which I kind of am, but in shorter increments. But really, I
mhm.
put the for an hour, so rarely do I actually get the warning of 5 more minutes till your daily time limit.
That's
Does have
good.
that ability, yeah, it does have the ability to say, "Do you want more time?" Which sometimes I won't lie, I do extend, and some of you might extend as well, but generally, I think even just having that conscious thought of, "I have a limit on there and um, I'm using it wisely," can be really beneficial for us. So I have a few other ideas, but I wonder if you have any thoughts.
My only thought I just came to mind as you were sharing that, and it'll probably apply to a lot of the things that we've talked about and to what you might be sharing going forward too, is just the idea that there's a lot of science that's happening that we can't
Yes.
see. There's
Yeah.
chemicals being released, there's time being warped, there's things that we can't see that are happening in and to us as we're interacting with technology and with devices, and I think that's just a really important call out is, like, the addiction, the time warp, all of those things, they happen to all of us because they're actually happening, and it's really difficult to be cognizant of because we can't see them or really even feel them right away. But yeah, that came to mind as you were speaking. I just wanted to call out. It's like
Yeah.
there's truly different chemicals in our brain being released when we get those likes or when we hit that
Yeah.
scroll or and what's really crazy or excuse me, what's really wild is that you can literally scroll through and watch someone being killed and then go to the next and it's like a self-help meme and then go to the next and then it's a beauty influencer showing like a glittery highlighter and then you go to the next and it's like someone being unlawfully detained. It's just like our minds were not built for the emotional roller coaster that is social media, both visually and what we cannot see.
It's a really good point because I've had conversations with people too who have multiple accounts, and they tell me that
Mm,
they use their accounts for different reasons. So they actually do their best to curate an account that is just for pure joy and another account that is for more socializing. And that's a lot to manage. But at the same time, if that's the way that we can divvy up the spaces to have more control, that's great. But I also think to your point, I think we're also seeing this evolution of usage that we're walking into this dark space. We don't know what's gonna pop up. I could be having a great day just wanting to check in on my friends and all of a sudden pop up because so much of the ways that we're connecting to
Yeah.
wars around the world and tragedy here in our own country is real, and it's being filmed and it's being posted. So on the one hand, it's good to be aware, and it prompts thought, and it prompts us to be more involved in social injustices and things of that nature. On the other hand, it has the potential to send us down a spiral of shock and horror, and it can also send us into a depth of, a depth of immense amount of sadness and immense amount of disconnect because we're exposed to so much, but then the action feels so disconnected. So what can I do to help people? And I don't understand how I can be so shocked and then move into this happy, joyful, glittery space like that. It is doing a lot to us. And I think we're going to start to see, if not already, a lot more research to your point around this very the juxtaposition, right? It just that they're very different, not polarized, but the juxtaposition between like how can these two things be true? But they are. And I think that because we know that they are, we know that our world can be very peaceful and that things happen outside. Social media has consolidated all that information into one place that is very hard to ignore. So it does impact us deeply. Yeah.
Yeah. My gosh.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And it actually, as you were sharing, I was thinking about one of our earlier episodes together around influencers, celebrities, role in and responsibility, if we will, around how we can start to implement or continue to implement more responsibility and vulnerability to really help balance that out. I think that relates so much to this conversation today. Is there is the person who's creating content, like the person you say you just recorded with, right? Like, how do we continue as content creators to show vulnerability? Even me as a therapist, right? I'm very conscious. I think I might have shared this before around how I show up on my Dr. C page. There's certain things obviously have to adhere to because I'm a licensed provider. At the same time, there is an expectation of the way that I live and the way that I think. And I really do try to uphold those expectations and really live up to them. And then there are parts of me who's like, I'm a mom who had a rough day. And I've shared some vulnerabilities around losing my mother, right? There's just parts of me that are a human being that I think, while I'm conscious about how much and how deep I share, that social media is also, I think, a platform that we need, and I call folks into using responsibly. And so while we as consumers can do our own due diligence about how much we consume and reminding ourselves to consciously this is not all real. Talking about AI, we're going to have to do an even better job at really thinking about, is this real? I mean, now we're seeing it like, am I second guessing myself? Like, there's going to be a lot there that we're going to learn more about how it's impacting us, but all the more reason for us to just stay sharp, stay diligent, stay conscious about staying in tune to ourselves because the impact can be so deep. It can shock us to the point of, my house doesn't look like this, my beauty doesn't look like this, all these different things we already see, and then some because AI is now entering in so profoundly. But I also think on the content creator side of things, I think it really is twofold. And I love that you shared this with us. How do we continue to uphold our responsibility as we share? And we don't have to be professional content creators like you. It's everyday people who put things online. You are a content creator, even if you're not one by your job or by definition of influencer or whatever the
Absolutely.
different names are. If you are contributing to social platforms, if you're putting information out there, be thoughtful. Take a moment to take just a few seconds of, how do I want to show up in the world and in this space? And what could be some potential outcomes of how this can impact other people? That's such a responsible, thoughtful step that if we just took a few seconds, which I believe many of us do, but just having that step, I think could be really helpful to minimize harm if we can.
I think like everything in this life, it's not black or white. It's not good or bad, right? It's like there is a lot of in between and a lot of good and bad that comes from social media. And I think one of the most important things, also similar to life as a theme, is just awareness. Like if you can have awareness around your own triggers, your own trauma, it might not be fully healed, but that awareness is gonna give you a lot of extra strength to navigate it, and I think it's goes the same here. If you can have some awareness around the impacts of social media and the misuse or overuse of it, then you're gonna, 1, be better at being able to prevent it, and then 2, um, even have a little bit more say in what you're putting out there, because that awareness around what you're sharing, um
It's so
yeah,
true.
awareness really sticks out to me.
Yeah. Yes. Awareness in so many different ways, which include, some of the work I do with my clients is around if social media, if your phone has become an escape for you, which again, life is busy. It can be really overwhelming sometimes. So we might need an escape, and that's okay. But if we notice that there's overconsumption of the escape, really it comes to asking ourselves the question, what am I escaping from? What is it about the thing that I'm escaping from in my life that has, not just a little from time to time thing, but I notice I'm almost always on this thing. And again, that does not factor in the fact that this is a highly addictive device designed on purpose to be this way, where someone might easily say, I like my life. I just find that this is a really addictive device. I get it. I get it. But if we are noticing I'm spending so much time here to avoid, those are the parts I want to gently call in for folks, right? If I notice that there are certain things
Yeah.
that I am avoiding, there's a loss in my life, there's pain in my life. I can't believe I just got laid off. I've been struggling with my own mental health diagnoses that are just so hard to bear in real time. This really does give me that escape, right? There are reasons that I imagine that are happening in one's life that would make a phone as a default something that can be helpful. At the same time, we have to be thoughtful about what are we consuming, right? The material, the amounts, the comparison risk, the risk of having information that could really just send us out of our own bodies because it's so shocking, right? There are risks to using this for a variety of reasons. One thing we haven't talked about is not only the amount of information that we're consuming, but also the misinformation that we're consuming, which is a whole other challenge for us. But I really would like to just say to anybody, if you are thinking about just in this moment, even if hearing my voice of, is this, it's a question we can all have for ourselves. Is this something that because it's addictive, because I find joy and peace and pleasure from it, right? We ask ourselves a question, can I utilize this from time to time and I find that I have control over it? Or ways where I might have to catch myself and say, I need a detox, or I just need to move this app from the front of my homepage on my phone to somewhere far away. I've actually done that, moving it away. Or on the contrasted side of things, or are in contrast, excuse me. And are there parts of my life that are too hard to bear, that are too overwhelming for me to deal with, that I am finding myself escaping more and more and more, and I'm not dealing with the things that are in the here and now. So I invite you to think about that. And if it is the case, this might be a great opportunity, if not already, to have someone safe you can talk to, like a professional, or different safe spaces emotionally, of course, physically, but psychologically safe spaces where you can lean in. Maybe if the phone escapism can be part of your ways to cope. Are there other ways you can cope through some good breaths? Sometimes we also can be very fidgety and anxious. Can we get something tangible like the squishy balls? Or my daughter's so cute. She's in this craft class at her after school program, and she made these cute little soft pom poms. And I actually asked her, "Can I have one of those?" Because I'm a fidgety
Oh,
person, anxious, and I use it especially because especially, like, even admittedly, when I talk to clients all day, I can get very, like, I hope I'm doing a good job. I
sure.
hope things. So something tangible to help even just ease that for ourselves. And she was sweet. She was like, Mom, adults get fidgety too. I said, Oh yeah. Oh yeah, honey. We all
Girl,
have
buckle up.
maybe even more than kids do. So having something that provides us outlets, whether it is talk therapy, listening to something soothing, having something physically tangible to help bring us back into the present. And if you're thinking, well, the present for me is really hard, Dr. C, it is hard for me to even sit there because it's traumatic for me or just very painful for me. We don't have to sit in our pain forever. So again, escapism is okay, But escapism is also runs the risk of things falling even further away from addressing the things we're going through. So I hope some of those interventions can feel helpful.
I am so glad that you brought up using it as an escape or as avoidance. That for whatever reason did not come to mind right away for me, and I think that is such an important pillar of this conversation. I have been in relationship with people personally and professionally where this has been an issue, and it's especially triggering for me because of how conscious I am of my use of social media and how hard I've worked on it for myself, and it can become, more of a trigger for you when it's, like, something that's hard for you.
Yeah.
Um and I just have seen people avoid and escape into self-sabotage. Um,
Mm.
Being in a meeting and being nervous about speaking up or just being nervous about being in the room with other cross functionals. And so you're distracted by your phone or you're on your laptop and you're using it as a shield or like a safety net, but it comes off as unprofessional and rude and like you're disengaged or you don't care. And the same to be said in a personal relationship. If I'm at dinner or hanging out with a friend or loved one and you have your phone even in your hand, not even just, or I saw an interesting video where someone had their phone face up, so like screen up on the table, and just having the phone screen up on the table while you're having dinner with someone is distracting and taking you away from the present moment. It's like whatever you can do. I
Yeah,
just it's tearing us away from being truly present with one another, and I understand the security and the escape of it, and I also appreciate that you said, like, it is okay to have some escapism. It is okay to find ways to disembody a little bit because everything feels too intense or scary. But can we find ways or balance that, helps us more than it hurts us?
definitely. Definitely. There is a lot of mindfulness that can be used in our field. There are a lot of mindfulness techniques we can use in our field, and we do use in our field.
Yeah.
Mindfulness really is really just coming down to, am I noticing what I am doing? Am I noticing what I am feeling? And it might sound a little weird at first, but maybe slowing down the thought, because so much of this becomes habit. Right, becomes a habit. We don't even notice that we have our phone glued to our pocket or our hand or looking at it. It's just like, how did I even get here? And how did I stay here so long? So the mindfulness aspect is going to be a really important part in helping us because it brings us back into reality. It slows down our habit and just makes a little few seconds worth of space in between. So you might even need to have a little conversation with your phone, which sounds really weird. I know it does, but what is my relationship to you? Do I need to check you right now? Will I be okay if I don't hold you right now? And how do I feel with you being in the other room? Because essentially it has become this little electronic person that we're in relationship with. So we can talk to or address this phone, or it brings it to consciousness again. And that sounds a little too wild. Like you don't have to do that. But I think you might get my point. My point is, have a relationship to this thing that has either good qualities about it or qualities that have caused challenges in our own self-esteem, our relationships, or our perceptions of the world. So we have to just have the conversation. And I think mindfulness as a tool and an intervention to create some space between our habit and what we might want to see as a behavior change can be really helpful. And hopefully we see some positive outcomes once we create some of that space in between.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you for this, Dr. C. It was a great refresher and reminder, I think, for me, hopefully for you too, and for anyone who's listening. I think, one of the biggest things we're taking away from this is just the awareness, just being cognizant of your relationship. You gave us some really good, tangible suggestions and takeaways. Is there anything else you want to end on?
I think this was really great, and I just offer a lot of empathy and support for
Yeah.
folks who are really feeling the struggle part. There's so much joy and positivity that we've noted, but this is really hard. This is really hard, and I think this is a really pivotal moment for us in time. knowing that AI is coming, knowing that this is going to be the trajectory of the world, knowing that the generations like my children and thereafter are only going to know devices, are only going to know social connections. And social connections are going the apps and the things are going to continue to evolve because we're already seeing them do so. So the all the more importance for us to really be cognizant about the power that we do have. We are more powerful than we think and we believe sometimes. So really honing in on your power is where I'd like to leave us today. We have a lot more.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having this conversation. And thank you, everyone, for listening. This has been such a rewarding series within the Beauty Manifest. And I just want to take the opportunity to encourage everyone who's listening to please engage with us. We want you to be part of this conversation. So thank you for those of you who have sent in different topics or different questions you might have that you want to hear Dr. Coleman talk about. We're always on the lookout. And we want to pull you into the conversations we're having. So please don't hesitate. Let us know in the comments what you thought about this, if there's anything you want to hear more about. And Dr. C, as always, thank you for your time.